name is Ethan Carey, and today I will be doing my activator experiment. In this experiment, I will be using dry ice. Now this is very cold, but a fun fact about it is that it's made of CO2 and that can inflate a balloon. So the problem that I have stated for today is that how does the amount of dry ice affect the inflation of a balloon? So about the CO2, I said it could inflate a balloon. So let's see how that works out. So the materials that I will be using for this is gloves, so that the dry ice won't burn you, a tape measure to see how big the balloon is, tongs, which might go with the gloves, either one works, and 4 different bottles for my experiment, which I named 1, 2, 3, and 4, and of course, balloons. I have one for each different color for each different balloon. So, and of course the main thing, dry ice. Alright, so let's get to the experiment. Cut. Alright, so let's get this experiment started. So I already have my dry ice set out, but in this we're going to be putting it inside the bottles now. For each number on the bottle, I put 1, 2, 3, 4. So for number 1, there's going to be 1 piece of dry ice being put in there. And then for number 2, 2 pieces of dry ice, and so forth. So this is my bottle. Need to speed this up because okay, so now that we got our dry ice, we're going to be putting our balloons over it so we won't need the gloves anymore. Okay, so we skipped a bit, so now we have our balloons on our bottles, we can start the timer. So, and now we will let this sit around and wait for it to blow up. Okay, so back to our experiment. It's already been 3 minutes, and as you can see, they look a bit similar. I would expect that the number 4 would be a bit bigger, but it kind of is though. But as you can see, it looks pretty much in sequence though. But now that we're going to start measuring, this one is at least 4 inches. This one is 4.5. This one is wow, surprisingly 5.5. And this one is 6. So as I said, pretty much in sequence, but we're going to let this keep going and I'll get back to you. Alright, so again, back to our experiment. We have now gone to 6 minutes and still pretty much a little bit the same. This one's grown at least about 3/4 inch. This one's grown 0.5. This one has grown 0.5. And this one has grown still at 7. Alright, so it grew at least 1 inch. So we'll let this sit around for at least till it passed 10 minutes and we'll get back to you. And now we're back. It's been 10 minutes, and let's see how much progress we've had. It looks like this number 4 is rocking it for sure. On number 1, looks like it's had just a little bit of progress, but it's getting there. And for number 2, looks about the same as number 3. But it's a bigger than number 1. So for number 3 though, looks a little bit bigger and has grown in progress. And then for number 4, you can just tell that it's been pretty good. It's been going pretty good. Alright, so we'll let this sit down for the final 15 minutes. And we'll get back to you. Okay, now I'm back to the video, and it's time for my final measurements. Alright, so for number 1, it has grown to 6.5. For number 2, it has grown to still 7. This one has grown to 8.5. And for our final one, which is number 4, has gotten to 9.5. Alright, so this was my final measurement, so now we're going to jump to my conclusion. I concluded that my hypothesis was correct. So the reason why I think this is because that this dry ice is going through a process called sublimation. In this process, this is where the solid of the dry ice turns into a gas called carbon dioxide, or CO2, and goes up into this balloon, inflating it. It's as simple as blowing into a balloon, but here's another thing about it. CO2 is more dense than the air that we breathe, oxygen. So we can just conclude that, and while I was gone, this is a balloon that I filled up with regular air, and also this is a balloon that I filled with CO2 earlier. So we can observe that, we can observe what happens. As you can see, the orange one which was filled with CO2 dropped faster than the regular one, when that was filled with the regular air. So that was my experiment. I'm glad that you watched it, and bye. Okay, so now that I've done my experiment, I decided that since I had a little bit of dry ice left, we might as well have some fun with it. So I have 2 cups right now, one with dish soap inside of it, not mixed, and one with just regular water. So now that I've got my dry ice, we're going to put half of them in one and the other in another. So we can just get our dry ice right here. Man, that's a bunch. Also, when doing this, be careful, it's really cold. As you can see, CO2. There it goes. And that's what it creates, like little clouds. As you can see, also underneath, these dry ice are bubbling. You can put like a bunch of these in a basket and put them in your sink, and pretty good for Halloween, that's what I would say. Okay, so this creates clouds, so now we're going to get to this one and dump the rest. This one was filled with dish soap, so remember that. Now it's creating baby bubbles. And look at this. It creates the clouds inside the bubbles. You can have fun with this with others. But what you can do with this one, instead of just let it bubble, is that we got a wet rag with soap, and that we can put it over to make a bigger bubble. Okay, so I've done it, and now it's creating the bubble. Oh, looks like it popped a little bit early.